Well, a very happy Mother's Day on a very early Sunday morning. I'm meteorologist Joe Bartosik, and we are continuing to monitor the dynamic breakup that is occurring across interior sections of the state of Alaska, as we've seen, again, a very deep snowpack melting away very quickly, as well as that ice breaking up again very quickly, rapidly, with large chunks of ice moving quickly downstream and causing numerous ice jams across many of the major interior rivers. We also have flooding that's going on across the Glen Allen area, especially between milepost 157 and 187 around Copper, the Copper Center or Copper Town Library, seeing some water surrounding it, and again, water reaching the Glen Highway. We'll get more on that in just a second, but we have some very critical information, some potentially life-saving information that needs to get communicated out. We're going to start off with major flooding, actually near record flooding that is taking place in Circle right now. Latest reports indicate that a 90-mile long run of ice and high water has taken out the bridge in Circle, causing basically the town or the village to be cut off. We are seeing reports of water that has completely inundated the town, and all of the roads are impassable here as a result of, oh, I'm sorry, that's a different report. I'm sorry, that's a whole different thing. So let me go back. Many structures are flooding in Circle. We're seeing large chunks of ice moving onshore, and those water levels are expected to continue to rise through Sunday. National Weather Service is urging people to move to higher ground. Flood warning has been issued until Monday at 6:30 in the evening for now. We'll continue to monitor this as we head on in through the rest of Sunday and on into Monday, because that water is going to move farther downstream, and we could see potential impacts of that by later on today around the Fort Yukon area along the Yukon River here, seeing areas of large chunks of ice also moving onshore, causing damage to structures potentially. There is potential for anywhere from minor to severe flooding. There is a high uncertainty with ice jams because they happen very quickly. That water can back up very quickly, but it can also alleviate itself very quickly. So high fluctuations in water levels are likely as we head in through Sunday and into the day on Monday. So this flood watch continues to remain in effect until noon on Tuesday. All right, going to the other breaking news situation out here across portions of the Glen Allen area. Still looking at that Moose Creek flooding along the Glen Highway to continue right on in through at least Sunday, potentially on in through much of the upcoming week. Flood advisory in effect for the area until Thursday afternoon at 12:45. Please pay attention and heed the flaggers that are out there along the Glen Highway. There is a 200-foot stretch that is seeing the significant or the worst flooding out there right now, and that will continue through at least Sunday. DOT crews are on scene and continuing to direct traffic through that area. The highway is open, but again, there will be some travel limitations as a result of that water, again, moving along portions of the Glen Highway there. All right, moving over to the Kuskokwim River here, looking at major flooding now in Crooked Creek. This is what I was referring to earlier. A large rise in water, some 12 feet high, has inundated Crooked Creek and has taken out the bridge. That town or village is cut off from the surrounding area. All roads in Crooked Creek are impassable. The only way to get around town now is by boat, and all residents are urged to move to higher ground. And please, please do not drive on any roads that are flooded, especially where you can't see lines or any other kind of markings on the road surfaces, because it only takes a very small amount of moving water in order to carry vehicles away. And most people die as a result of drowning from being in their cars and being carried away by floodwaters. Unfortunately, we are hearing many reports of many homes and buildings that are underwater. So we'll continue to monitor the situation, get in touch with emergency managers, as well as try to get some additional reports that are going on in the Crooked Creek area. So our two main impacts by ice jams right now, actually three. The ones that have significant potential to life and property will be around Circle and also around Crooked Creek. We'll continue to monitor that situation here very carefully. Let's go ahead and go back to the graphics. We're going to switch our attention back over toward the Eagle area, which did see fairly minor to moderate flooding. Again, the town or road between the town and the village was impassable at some parts during the early morning hours or the first half of Saturday and actually on into Saturday evening. As we go through the overnight, that water will continue to recede and we should see improving conditions as again the water on the river is now open and freely flowing downstream, although still remaining high as again we're melting off a very deep snowpack across the Alaska Range, across the Yukon Flats, and even across areas of western Yukon territory in Canada. There are still large chunks of ice that were pushed on the shoreline that continue to remain in place, so please be very careful if you're walking or doing any kind of recreating or potential recreating along the shorelines there, along the Yukon, in and around the Eagle area. But the good news is that this water is slowly receding and will continue to do so as we head on in through the remainder of Sunday and on into Monday as well. View of the larger state of Alaska shows additional flood watches in effect again from Fairbanks to the north and to the east, and also from the lower Kuskokwim Valley from the Alaska Range out toward the Bethel area, but not including Bethel, and we'll continue to monitor that situation as all of that ice and water continues to gradually move its way on downstream across the Kuskokwim. On the lower Yukon Valley, the main concern for the next short term is going to be some wind, and wind advisories in effect for portions of the lower and middle Yukon River for wind gusts as high as 50 miles an hour. That translates over to high wind warnings across the Yukon Delta, St. Lawrence Island, and the Bering Strait coast as we head on in through the rest of Sunday morning on in through until about 6 o'clock in the morning for winds gusting as high as 60 miles an hour as that front indicated by the clouds and the moisture continues to push its way onshore thanks to a strong area of low pressure that is now moving across eastern areas of Siberia. Southerly winds out ahead of that is what's driving the potential for those wind gusts up to 60 miles an hour. Meanwhile, the areas in pink there across the central and the eastern Alaska Range, that is our first fire weather warnings for the season. We actually did have a small grass fire on the grounds of Fort Wainwright, but that was quickly brought under control, and we're seeing about 5 acres that were burned throughout with that particular incident. So continuing to monitor, again, things trying out very quickly. Relative humidity values on Sunday are going to be as low as 25%. This fire weather warning goes into effect at least through Monday and early in the morning hours on Tuesday. So we'll be watching that very carefully as well. But again, the main concern will be the potential for ice jams and the potential for significant flooding as that dynamic breakup continues. We'll continue to monitor the latest on river levels as well as with the River Watch by the National Weather Service, which has been very helpful in reporting a lot of these conditions, as well as weather observers, weather spotters, as well as emergency management officials will get that information out to you as best as we can. But of course, you definitely want to make sure that you're signed up for any kind of weather alerts, which you can get through our Alaska Weather Source app. And of course, you can always stay tuned through alaskasnewssource.com, as well as our mobile and streaming apps as well. And don't forget, we definitely have you covered on air, online, and on demand. Please have a very safe Mother's Day. Mothers, you obviously do a great work and great job out there, so keep up the good work. We love you and appreciate you. Definitely hi to my mom out there in Delaware, and we'll continue to, again, keep you apprised of the latest with, again, a rapidly changing situation with regard to the dynamic breakup that is occurring across much of interior Alaska as we head on in through this breakup season. I'm meteorologist Joe Bartosik. Again, have a very safe Mother's Day.